On the 26th of September 1983, a Soviet military officer named Stanislav Petrov sat alone in a bunker outside Moscow. His screen lit up with a warning. 5 American nuclear missiles had been launched and were heading toward the Soviet Union. Protocol was clear. Report it. Trigger the response. Launch. He didn't. Petrov decided, alone, in the dark, with the world in his hands, that it was a false alarm. He was right. A satellite malfunction had caused the error. If he had followed orders, the Soviet Union would have launched a retaliatory strike. The United States would have responded, and the world as we know it would have ended. One man, one decision, and nobody knew about it for decades. This is the Cold War. When World War II ended in 1945, the world expected peace. It didn't get it. 2 powers had emerged from the wreckage of the war, the United States and the Soviet Union. One championed capitalism and democracy. The other championed communism and state control. Both believed they were right. Both believed the other was an existential threat. And both had nuclear weapons. The Cold War was not a traditional war. There were no front lines, no formal declaration of conflict, no single battlefield. Instead, it was a 45-year struggle fought through proxy wars, espionage, propaganda, and the ever-present threat of nuclear annihilation, a sword hanging over every person on Earth every single day. Europe was the first to split. By 1949, the Soviet Union had installed communist governments across Eastern Europe: Poland, Czechoslovakia, Hungary, Romania, Bulgaria. Winston Churchill called it an iron curtain descending across the continent. Berlin became the most visible symbol of the divide. A single city split in 2, one half free, one half trapped. In 1961, the Soviets built a wall through the middle of it overnight. Families were separated. People who tried to cross were shot. The Berlin Wall stood for 28 years. It became the defining image of everything the Cold War represented. Meanwhile, both superpowers were building weapons on a scale the world had never seen. By the 1960s, the United States and Soviet Union together possessed enough nuclear warheads to destroy every major city on Earth multiple times over. Military strategists gave this a name: mutually assured destruction. MAD. The logic was simple. If both sides knew an attack meant their own annihilation, neither side would attack. It was the most terrifying peace treaty ever written. And it held? Barely. In 1962, Soviet missiles were discovered in Cuba, just 90 miles from the American coast. For 13 days, the world held its breath. President Kennedy and Soviet leader Khrushchev exchanged letters, made threats, and quietly negotiated. On the final night, a single Soviet submarine commander, cut off from communication under depth charge attack, refused to launch a nuclear torpedo without a direct order. Another man, another decision, another world saved by one person choosing not to act. The superpowers couldn't fight each other directly, so they fought everywhere else. Korea, Vietnam, Angola, Afghanistan, Central America. For 4 decades, the United States and Soviet Union funded opposite sides of conflicts around the world, turning local disputes into battlegrounds of ideology. Millions died in wars that were, at their core, about 2 countries too afraid to fight each other face to face. Vietnam alone cost over 3 million lives. The Soviet invasion of Afghanistan, which began in 1979, would drag on for a decade, bleed the Soviet Union dry, and plant the seeds of conflicts that are still unfolding today. By the 1980s, the Soviet Union was exhausted. The economy was collapsing. The war in Afghanistan was unwinnable. And a new Soviet leader, Mikhail Gorbachev, understood that the system could not survive without radical change. He introduced reforms. He opened dialogue with the West. And one by one, the communist governments of Eastern Europe began to fall. On the 9th of November 1989, crowds gathered at the Berlin Wall. Guards stepped back. Hammers came out. And the wall came down, not with missiles or armies, but with ordinary people and ordinary tools, dismantling the symbol of 45 years of fear. 2 years later, the Soviet Union dissolved. The Cold War was over. But was it really? The weapons still exist. The tensions between East and West never fully disappeared. The proxy conflicts the Cold War ignited are still burning in corners of the world most people never look at. Stanislav Petrov, the man who saved the world in 1983, died in 2017. He was awarded a prize by the United Nations. He said he didn't feel like a hero. He said he was just doing his job. The Cold War never fired a shot between the two great powers. And yet, it shaped every decade that followed, and it is shaping the world right now. Which moment of the Cold War do you think came closest to ending everything? Cuba, 1983, or something else? Let me know below. And subscribe if you want more stories about the events that shaped the world we live in today.